Hi, I'm honored to be with you today. I'm Ahmed Al-Muwallid and I'll be sharing with you one of our most exciting experiences with Odoo. Last year, we've had a very good role in the crisis management of Covid-19 in Egypt. Let me start by asking a small question. Would you do if you are offered a project that has to be finished in 3 weeks, a complete project, that within 3 weeks will start serving millions of customers? Would you accept it? In our case, that wasn't an option. We had to accept the project we were offered. We were actually excited to be part of that project. It was a very big challenge, but everybody was excited about it. It was about the pandemic, the thing that we've all been facing, and we all wanted to do any role in it. So we accepted a complete project that had to be done in only 3 weeks to serve a large amount of the Egyptians. In this presentation, we will be focusing on the methodology we used, how we faced the problem, how we approached the project in order to meet the expectations of our customers. Okay, I'll start by briefly introducing my company. The company is called ZAD Solutions. We started it in 2003, so it's 18 years old. Back then, it was the first open source company in Egypt, and it still relies on only open source products. Back then, it wasn't an easy challenge at all. Everybody was talking about the closed source products. Everybody was educated using closed source products. We played a very big role in creating the market awareness regarding open source in Egypt, but we believed in open source from day one. Since then, we've worked with more than 300 clients in digital transformation projects, more than 450 projects in 20 industries. In 2009, we believed that Open ERP will become the open source ERP. So we started implementing community versions of Odoo since 2009. Later we became partners. Actually, back then, people believed that Open ERP is our own product. We used to market it everywhere. All the Open ERP developers back then were educated in ZAD Solutions, were trained in ZAD Solutions, so people believed it's our product. Later we became partners with Open ERP, then Odoo, and still it's a major part of our success. Let's start our story. It began back in March 2020. This is where all our COVID stories began. Back then, the first cases of coronavirus were spotted in Egypt. In April 2020, the government decided to implement partial lockdown. Actually, this wasn't based on any actual measures or facts, but it was based on how people started reacting on the COVID, because in Egypt back then we didn't have any PCR tests, any actual results or figures. In May, limited testing started to be done on those patients who reached the government hospitals. So only those who were already sick and sick enough to go to a hospital were tested. So still, we didn't have any actual figures. In June, only one company was assigned to make PCR tests through drive-through facilities all over Egypt. The project had to be ready by July. For you who are following the Egyptian politics, they would know that in Egypt we set the deadline, then we see how we can fit into it. This is how things work in Egypt. So the deadline was set, and everybody had to fit the plan within this month. Actually, our story is within the last 3 weeks of that month. So the whole story is in those 3 weeks. Okay, it was a big challenge. We are 100 million Egyptians. We had only 3 weeks to have everything up and running. This is, of course, impossible without automation. And without thinking, everything had to work agile. More agile than the books that describe the agility. So we had to work in a way that we've never used to do before. Okay, first step, we defined the scope, the customer requirements. Of course, they needed an automated process for lab testing, for registration, patients database, lab management, invoicing. All that had to be fully automated. Second, integrations. Covid-19 testing had to be integrated with airports, the government, and to be able to issue certificates, travel certificates. Third, we had to have self-service for the customers. By self-service, we mean web application, website, mobile application, where people can pre-register to reduce the waiting time. They can't wait in line to have registrations. This would have been impossible. Finally, we had to have some intelligence to follow the figures, to provide figures to the government, to provide figures for the insurance companies, and for the company that is running the whole system. Okay, our first question was easy. What platform would help us in doing that? We didn't think twice. Odoo was our first choice. Why was Odoo the first choice? Odoo is ready, so we can immediately have an installation. Within 15 minutes, we have something running. Odoo is modular, and this helps the concept of the agility. We can get out with the core modules and then start building up on them. Third, Odoo has hundreds or thousands of community add-ons that would definitely help. Usually when a customer asks me whether this module is available or not, and when it's something that we've never heard of before, I say, I haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure that someone did it before, and we will find it for you. The community add-ons have always been the solution for most of our problems. Fourth point is that Odoo is a framework. We can do whatever we want on it. We can develop our own modules whenever we want. So I can develop any business automation tool on Odoo. And the fifth reason was it's cloud-based. No in-house no local implementations, no servers, special servers required, no networking, nothing. It's on the cloud. Everybody with a browser can start working on it. Okay, next we'll start the steps that we used to implement the project. We've broken down the project into 4 steps. The thinking started with what we already have, what can start immediately, then what is urgent, then what's important. So, step 1, what do we have on hand? We have the core modules. Invoicing, the contacts for the registration, users, dashboards and reports, and the website. So with little implementation, we were able to customize those within very few days to start working, to start training the users, and to start to have something up and running. Second, the lab management. The lab management is not available in the core modules. But as I said before, we will find something. We found many lab management solutions on the market. We've selected one that was free, implemented it, and started customizing. So in a couple more days, we had a process running, not the final process that we wanted, but in case we had to start immediately, we have a process. We have something, we have 80% of what we want. The lab management process included patient registration, appointment, test selection, lab request, sample collection, the testing workflow inside the lab itself. This included the barcode and the results, certification and notifications. This is a normal lab workflow. Okay, so we started with a very normal lab workflow, a module that is already there. Later on, we had to do a lot of customizations to fit the case of the pandemic and the spread of the labs and things like that. So we had to start another module from scratch, which didn't take us a lot of time too. But maybe if time goes back, I would have given Odoo Studio a try. Odoo Studio is very powerful in these cases too. Okay. Third point, which was the least urgent, but it was very important to reduce the time. We developed a mobile app, which was an interface fully integrated with the solution. Normal customers could log in, sign in, add their national ID, create an account, select the time and the place they want to have the test done. We had drive-through facilities all over Egypt. And then go there. If the pre-registered, they would have finished everything in 5 minutes. Okay. Those who didn't pre-register, it took them more time in order to register at the facility. On top of that, they received push notifications. They had their test results stored on their app or accessed from the app, so they have the history, the dates, everything was managed from that app. That app took us maybe a week to get out. This was another challenge, but with the back end ready, it was much easier than expected. Okay. Finally, the integrations. By July, all airports, not by July, by maybe by September, all airports asked for evidence of PCR for those who travel to these countries. We had to be ready with that. Okay. The travel certificates were not enough because a lot of people forged travel certificates. So they had to have access to our database. So we've done integrations with regional database, with our APIs or with their APIs. So on the same system at the airport, at the check-in and with the passport check, people were checked on the system whether their travel certificate is legitimate or not. For those countries who didn't provide APIs or didn't want to do direct integration, we had an interface for these airports with usernames and passwords. They could log in and check the legitimacy of the travel certificate. We had QR codes. Some of them were customized to check the travel certificate online. And we had WhatsApp integrations to notify the user immediately. This was very challenging. We had to use third-party services in order to do this integration. But we managed to have the user notified at the same time when the result was put on the system. So this shortened the feedback process a lot and reduced the traffic on the facilities in order to get the result themselves, the users. Even those who were not registered through the app received the same results online. The final result, we reduced the waiting time from 3 hours to 15 minutes. This means the existing facilities could handle a lot more visitors than those without automation. Throughout those months, it has been more than a year now, we didn't have one incident of losing a test, a sample, or a result. Everybody had real-time reporting and insights, real-time monitoring and auditing of payments and cash. We provided government reports and also reports for the insurance companies. The whole process became very smooth. Actually, one indicator of the positive results is that we had almost an open budget for customization, and we've never struggled with collecting our payments from the customer. So this is, for me, this is the one indicator that shows that the project is on track. Finally, the media coverage. The day the project was announced, it was on every talk show in Egypt, and believe me, we have a lot. Maybe we have more than 30-40 talk shows daily, and it was on each one of them for maybe 15 minutes to half an hour. Everybody was talking about the facilities, the ability for the Egyptians to have COVID-19 tests, PCR tests. Everybody was talking about the automation as part of the coverage. The mobile app was mentioned as part of the coverage. So it was everywhere. We were very proud of the work we've done. It was on every newspaper, every website in Egypt. Everybody was talking about it. The news was spread to WhatsApp, everywhere. Actually, those were not 3 weeks. These were 3 calendar weeks, but people wait till 4 p.m. every day in order to finish it in that time. But unfortunately, um, we didn't have a lot of bugs later on. The uptime was great. Everything went smoothly later on. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. We would have liked someone from the customer side to be with us today, but unfortunately, due to the fact that it is partially a government project, so it's not easy to get a customer side talking about it. But we will be here to answer all your questions, whether regarding the implementation process or the technicalities behind the project. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Hamed, for this amazing presentation. What a project. What a project in 3 weeks. I mean, it's something that not a lot of partners can achieve just because of the complexity and also the urgency of this project. And I'm happy that you guys were able to deliver this such important project for last years and for this specific times of COVID. So yeah, I really think that we need to talk about it a little bit more in depth. The first thing I want to ask, and I'm sure a lot of people need to know that, how many contact finally you had on this database, because it looks like you were trying to target every Egyptian out there for PCR tests.
Yes.
So that would be interesting to know how much contact Odoo can handle.
Okay. Currently, we have 2 to 3 million
Wow.
contacts on the database.
That's amazing.
And that wasn't easy growing or putting the infrastructure.
Yeah, I bet.
The servers, we had to upgrade the servers several times during the process. And it's handled perfectly.
Wow, I mean, it's definitely one of the biggest database that we have out there in terms of contact, definitely.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question, and we have 2 or 3 questions from Hamid on the chat. He's asking you why you didn't use the Odoo apps that we provide, but you prefer to create the specific apps. Maybe you can share. Yeah.
First, the app had to be branded.
That's important.
We had to do our own app. Secondly, it had to be extremely lightweight. So we focused only on these specific tasks required from the app. But in general, for general business users where there are no consumer or customers involved, we usually use Odoo app. That's the standard.
Yeah, I mean, I think I completely agree. It's important to remind everybody in the audience that the Odoo apps is set in a way to fill the needs of generic companies, and for this project, it's definitely not generic. It's very specific, and that's because it needed to be branded, because it's for the government. Sometimes you had to create the apps for the front end, but the back end was Odoo, so everything worked with Odoo.
Everything was Odoo, and still is Odoo and branded Odoo.
Yeah, thank you on that. It's a question from Hamid, and maybe it's you don't know that, but I'm sure you know. Is this backend used for all the labs across Egypt, or it was just part of them in a specific region, I guess?
No, all the drive-through facilities in Egypt.
All the drive-through.
But it was made specifically for this project. Okay. So it's not the standard lab management system. We started with the standard lab management system, but we had to do a lot of
customization. Yeah. You said that on the presentation that you reuse something existing, but you had to change a lot because It was for a specific case.
Yes.
Okay, we have 1 more minute. I think we got a question from Hassan. He would like to know the size of the team who worked on the project and maybe the total amount of hours, if you know, on this project. Yeah.
Okay. For those 3 weeks, we had one project manager, one business analyst, one a senior developer, and a junior developer for
Okay.
3 weeks. But the working day was extended, a little bit extended. So they
more like 10
worked,
hours a day, something like that.
yes, for some of them, no, I mean 16 hours a day. So
Wow. Okay.
we had meetings at 4 a.m. So
And every day,
it
I
was
guess, the weekend included. Everywhere.
yes, and it was the start of the lockdown, so everybody was still enthusiastic about being able to work from home and having extra time saved from commuting. So it's basically 4 persons or 3 persons, because the project manager
Yeah.
wasn't there all the time. So 3 persons for 3 weeks, 15 days.
Wow, what a project. Hamed, I'm very happy that you share with us this great experience, this great project. I'm gonna post the link about you on the chat. So if you guys want to talk to Hamed, he will be available on this session. Hamed, thank you so much for sharing this.
Thank you.
I'm glad you did it. And again,
Thanks to you.
have a great day and see you soon.
And thanks for the great organization of the event.
Thank you, Hamed. See you.
Thank you.